I've set out on a journey to make 100 million silver, starting with just 1 silver and a completely fresh account. In the last 2 episodes, I amassed a net worth of around 6 million silver by engaging in a wide variety of tried and true money making methods. But in this episode, we're taking things up a notch. I'm gonna niche down, corner specific items on the Albion market, and make a metric buttload of money. This is Rags to Riches, episode 3. Hello everyone, it has been quite a while since episode 2. I have been hard at work though on this series, making gains that make the first 2 episodes look like child's play. In this episode, I only did one money making strategy, my personal favorite method of money making, melding artifacts, and it made me over 30 million silver of passive income throughout the past few months. So let's look at how it's done. Taking a look at how this method works, without getting into too much detail, if you take some runes, souls, relics, or Avalonian shards to the artifact foundry, you can meld them into a random artifact of that tier and type. Now, since it is random, it's basically gambling. But unlike real gambling, you can sometimes make a profit if the average cost of, say, the souls that you buy is lower than the average price of the soul artifacts that you get back. So how do you find something that's profitable like this? Well, spreadsheets and math. Not gonna lie to you guys, if you want to make real good money in Albion by playing the market in some way, it's going to become very little about playing the game and very much about playing Microsoft Excel. Now, luckily for you, you're subscribed to this channel, right? And so I've done most of the work for you. This spreadsheet is what I used in this episode's Find Profit, and it's actually from a previous video which I did, and I'll link that in the description. Okay, so if you actually want to use this, I'd suggest checking out the full video for a full explanation on how to use it, but just very basically, you basically input the price of how much you're buying the runes, souls, relics, or Ava shards in this little table here, so let's say 45 for tier 4 runes, and then you would go over to the corresponding area here, so tier 4 runes, and I would enter in the price that I reasonably think I could sell all of these artifacts for. So I go to the market and enter all the sell prices. Let's just enter some randomly here. So if these weren't actually the prices, obviously they aren't, and I were to go to the artifact foundry and meld up my tier 4 runes into the warrior option, I would make about a 219% return on my investment, or about like double my profit on average.
Lot of boring math later.
Alright, so I've just ran the numbers here, if you will, and it looks like I have a decent amount of profit on basically all of these. Recover some profit, but the biggest tier is with the tier 4 souls, which thankfully is what I'm most familiar with, so I'll definitely do some tier 4 souls, and I think I'm also going to try out some tier 4 Ava shards. I also have a pretty decent profit on them, so I'm going to go buy order a bunch of this stuff. So I invested most of the money I had into buying those souls and Avalonian shards, and one of the nice things about doing this is that the market moves really fast. Since you get tier 4 souls in basically every chest you open in Albion, by the time I checked back the next morning, all my buy orders had been fulfilled. But before I went to salvage them, I decided to do a little bit more math to see if I could increase my profits. Now, just to quickly interject here and pause for 1 second, what I'm about to go over is slightly more advanced, so if you don't get it, don't worry about it too much. It only slightly increases your profits. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken the value of the average artifact that we get back. It's around 7.8k, and then if you express that as souls, which makes it a little bit easier, it's about 218 silver per soul. That's about the average that we're getting for every soul that we meld. We're getting about 218 silver. That's why we have a profit. If you compare it to the only 147 that we're paying, we get about 218 back. That's why we have such a big profit. Now, what we can do is, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later in the video, is you can actually salvage back down these artifacts back into souls. You get 10 souls for each one, plus a little bit of silver. So what we can do is, since we're getting 10 souls back down, that's about 2k, a little bit over 2k per artifact that we salvage back down. So for really cheap artifacts, take this cloth binding here, instead of say selling it on the market for 970 silver, we could instead bring it back to the salvage station, salvage it down into souls, and remeld that for an average of about 2k silver. So it'd be much better to salvage it back down instead of selling it right on the market. So what I've done here is I've taken that value, it's about 2.2k, and made all of the ones red that would be better back to salvage down into souls. The problem is there is way too many of them. You can see there's basically 3 per category that are actually worth to sell in the market, and all the rest are better just to sell, or just to salvage back down, sorry. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of thinking. That's gonna, basically the problem is it's gonna flood the market too hard if I do too much of it. So I'm gonna do a little bit of thinking and come back to it.
5 minutes later.
Okay, since there's so many of these in the red, what I think I'm gonna do is, we'll get into this later in the video, but we're also gonna be salvaging back down the really cheap artifacts back into souls and stuff, and doing it with other stuff as well. So what I'm actually gonna use, I'm gonna use the salvage price, which I've calculated here at about 1.6k or 1.5k if I want to add in the tax. We'll just keep it at the 1.6k for now, and we'll just meld the ones that are under 1.6k, which should change things a little bit, but not that much. Okay, so with the new 1.6k value, some more of them will keep and sell on the market, but we'll still be salvaging down a lot of these other artifacts back into souls, and then probably remelding them. Although with this way too, this way I know that basically if I think I'm flooding the market a little bit too much with all of these ones that I'm going to put back on the market, I can just sell the souls too, and I'll still make more money off of that than selling them on the market. With all the math and spreadsheeting out of the way, knowing I was bound to make a profit, I set off to meld down my first set of tier 4 souls. And just look at all that juicy money flowing in. Yeah, okay. One thing you have to understand about melding is that it is gambling. If you get unlucky, you can lose money. It's all about averages. On average, I'll make about a 50% profit on my investment, as it suggests in the spreadsheet. But on any random trip, such as this one, I could get unlucky. In this first one, I only made around 90k profit, which if you include tax, basically means I lost some money. But you just have to double check your math and be confident that if you do it enough, you will eventually make a profit. Because you could also receive the opposite of that luck and make a bigger profit than expected. Like when I did this Avashar trip right after and went from a 1.4 million start to a 2.5 million at the end, a 78% profit, even though the spreadsheet averaged at a 28% profit. Melding is all about averages. The more you do, the closer you will get to that average. And so with my confidence restored, I decided to start expanding out of just Lyndhurst and into Fort Sterling as well. Okay, I got my Fort Sterling souls here. Let's see if we can make a profit on them. The profit should be just about as good as Lyndhurst. I think it was only about 2% lower when I spreadsheeted it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but there's something just so satisfying about speeding this up and watching the money in your inventory slowly crawl up. Alright, so after melding everything, we went from around, I think it was like a 1.1 mil or a bit over that to start, and up to around 1.8 mil now here. So we got a little lucky, but overall pretty close to what I expected, or what the spreadsheet predicted. And a pretty good profit.
3 days later.
Okay, so it's been 4 days since I set up these sell orders in Lyndhurst here, and I'm pretty surprised at how fast these artifacts are moving. Most of my stuff is sold already. You can see my money here is just shooting up, so I'm guessing even the Fort Sterling ones have mostly sold, meaning this will be even better than I expected. So I guess it's time to go all in and take over every market in every other city. And that is exactly what I did. I expanded out into every royal city except Caerleon by ordering at least 7,000 tier 4 souls, melding them into artifacts and selling them back on the market. Now, with being in every royal city, what I could have done to increase profits is transport around artifacts to specific cities with their crafting bonuses where they're more expensive, but I checked the price differences and it didn't seem too worth it, so I just sold everything in the market of the town I was in. Okay, I didn't record the start of this, but oh my god, look at my inventory value. I got so lucky on this one, I easily doubled my money and more. This is some crazy profit. I don't remember how much I started with, but it was not that much. Now, with expanding to every royal city, the profits were really rolling in fast. I was gaining a decent amount of capital to work with, and so it was time to start moving on to the second phase of my plan, salvaging artifacts. So as I alluded to earlier, you can meld souls into artifacts, but you can also salvage those same artifacts down back into souls. Now you don't get nearly the same amount of souls back for salvaging, only 10 for each one, but if the artifact is really useless and cheap, it can be worth it. Now, since I'd been meddling in the tier 4 soul artifact market for a while, I had a very good read about which artifacts were super cheap. So I went, visited each market, and set up buy orders for the cheapest ones. Now, if you want to start doing this from minute 0, you can do it really easily with the spreadsheet. Just enter the price that you can sell your, say, tier 4 souls for here, and it will tell you the price of the corresponding artifact that would be worth salvaging down into souls. But it's really obvious just to see in the market as well. If I go in search of souls, we can see that tier 4 souls are around 150 silver each. If I search for an artifact, I know these ones are cheap, around 1100 each for the buy orders. That means I'm spending 1100 for something that I can salvage down into 10 souls, effectively meaning I'm paying 110 for each soul instead of the 150 for each soul if I were to buy the souls themselves. And so that's basically what I did for, I would say, around 3 months on and off. I would log in every few days, collect buy orders, re-buy order the same items, salvage down the artifacts into souls, meld those souls back into different artifacts, and sell them on the market. It's really easy, has no account requirements, and is pretty AFK and passive. However, if you want to do this yourself, there's one thing you really need to understand. Like all market-based money-making strategies, the more people that do it, the worse your profits will be. Especially with something like this where I'm cornering a niche of the market, there's not a whole lot of room for competition. If you go the second this video drops and try to 100% copy me buying tier 4 souls and melding them into artifacts, chances are you'll lose a bunch of money because there's always a bunch of people that just blindly copy videos. Right after this video drops, there's very likely to be a really high competition in the tier 4 soul artifacts market, and so the profits will be very slim if none. Use the spreadsheet and find your own area in the market to work with. Maybe it's tier 4 Avalonian shards like I did at the start of the video, or maybe it's tier 8 souls like I tried to transition to near the end of this episode. Okay, it's been super long. These tier 8 artifacts just do not buy fast enough, they move way too slowly, so I'm not going to try to use them. Now, just salvaging them down here, I made a bit of profit. The smart thing for me to do would be to go and sell these souls on the market for that guaranteed profit, but I mean, this is YouTube, so I gotta go for it, right? Yeah, that's what I figured would happen. The tier 8 soul market is very hit or miss, and I did not have enough to play the average.
4 to 6 weeks later.
Alright, it is like a month later, and I've let almost everything sell. Now, I already started investing in some stuff for the next video, but if we take a look at my bank, I have around 15-16 mil worth of stuff invested, some black market stuff here, but then some other stuff for the next video. I have around 6 mil on my person here, and then I have another bank with about 15 mil of stuff invested in it. So the total net worth now is sitting about 37 mil. In the next episode, I'm going to be doing some longer term AFK investment based money making strategies, so unfortunately it will likely be at least a year before that one comes out. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one and found it helpful. Make sure to let me know in the comments if you did. Do all the other stuff you do to YouTube videos, and I will see you in the next one.